Hi, everybody. This is the chat about everything. This is one nihilist, one spiritual, one Christian. Three blokes talking about everything and anything. No meaning intended, just for informational and entertainment purposes, really. So today we are discussing, are we in Third World War?
Uh,
So, with all the things that have been going on recently on our planet, and the things that you might see, believe, know to be true, whatever, around the globe, regarding conflict and war and missiles and deaths and military. Does this mean we are in World War Three? Are we currently in the middle of World War Three? Or is this not enough to kind of say that we are? Yeah, so that's what we're going to discuss today. As we know, this last weekend before last, well, I mean that was a big showing of America and Israel um, starting a new renewed conflict against Iran, and Iran retaliating against Israel and also allegedly firing a few uh, missiles into other Arab states. And this wasn't, I mean, they're talking about that was the start of the war. Personally, I think the war's been going on a little bit longer than that. Certainly, last 2025 summer of, there was some bombings, wasn't there? Under the same reasoning from the Pentagon and Washington that they were trying to stop the Iranians having developing weapons of mass distraction, weapons of mass destruction. There's a Freudian slip, isn't there? Weapons of mass destruction and nuclear capabilities. That was the excuse that they gave before. But we've been seeing war waged in the Middle East for a long time now, haven't we? A hell of a long time. So, what are your views, fellas? Are we currently in World War Three?
well, I think, funnily enough, I went down the rabbit hole and um, this morning about Hezbollah and the history of it as well. And my takeaway from that was that the Islamic religion believe in the 12th Imam and his or its return. Um, of 1,500 years ago, he sort of disappeared. Um, and it has similarities to actually the Christian religion, because in the Christian religion, they believe in the end of days. And that's when the Messiah will return. But the Islamic one is they believe that the return of the 12th Imam will come about when there's absolutely chaos throughout the world. And the likes of um, Iran and anybody, well, Iran specifically, they believe that if they perpetuate this chaos on the planet, then they are acting in the way of the scriptures, and the return of the 12th Imam will come about sooner rather than later.
Yeah.
And well, like I say, the Christians believe, and they also, when the 12th Imam returns, Jesus will return as well first. So the Islamic religion believes that Jesus was a prophet and will return.
Yeah.
Um, so they, as long as there's chaos on planet Earth, then you've got 300 million people that believe in the 12th Imam, that this is destiny.
Mm.
Um, and it's not a war. It's well, they call it jihad. Um, and it's just um, that's where they want to go. They want nirvana, and the only way to nirvana is when there's total chaos, and the return of the Imam and the Messiah will, or Jesus, will bring about nirvana. So
Right.
what's happening is it's not, are we looking at World War III? We're looking at um, we're looking at religious doctrine of 300 million or more people that believe in the end of days or the return of the 12th Imam. And we haven't got a chance. No, how do we, how do you, this is an ideology that, you can't change these people. And if when they die, in their pursuit of this, they believe they're doing it for their martyrs. They're doing it for the right reason, and they're born and bred into this.
So, firstly, I acknowledge your knowledge there, John, because I must say to everybody else, I didn't tell these guys what we were talking about today. I
Mm.
just sprang it on them. So, fair play. That sounded like you'd researched that, John. So well done.
Watched it this morning.
But
Watched it this morning. I was.
my quick question is what number? So an imam is the spiritual leader of the people in Iran. What current number are we on of imams? Do we know?
I don't know. I didn't look that up. No, but the 12th Imam was 1,500 years ago, so you could do the maths.
Okay, right, okay. So there was a turning point back then, according to their beliefs and spiritual ideologies. Okay, interesting. Henry?
That's where we,
That's
that's the. Go on. Sorry, go on, Henry.
no, you're all good. I actually agree with everything you just said there, John, as well. And that, but I always struggle with what to believe because I always think, the world is a stage. We're always being sold a story of some kind. So that, the question you asked him is, are we in World War III? The answer is I don't know, but I do definitely think there's people pushing towards end times and prophecy, like John said, and I think that's exactly what we're seeing. To break it down, yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Actually, this is one that probably a first for us guys, that we might agree on this particular thing, as in there is something occurring on planet Earth that is massive, a shifting of some kind, of end times. I think every generation has had its end times, and I think if you go back to what was his name, Nostradamus, the prophet and predictor of the Middle Ages all the way back there, he predicted somebody wearing a turban, fighting against America and destroying the world. So, okay, we can agree on we might be in some chaos times that might be bringing about something else. And a lot of Christians would probably say it's end times looking at the return of Jesus,
No, it's not Jesus. It's the Messiah.
or Christ, really, Christ consciousness.
You call it the Messiah. I thought it was Jesus. I was corrected. It's not Jesus. It's not the return of Jesus. It's the return.
Well, it's the false prophet as well, isn't it? And the Antichrist as well. And I think that's
Oh,
when,
Archangel Gabriel's to return as well. Yeah.
Wow. Okay, so we're going somewhere pretty deep straight away, aren't we? Because
But yeah,
personally, I think there's two things to the answer of the question, are we in World War III? I mean, we can look at actual World War, like what needs to happen and the criteria for us to call it World War III. But what I do see happening from a spiritual point of view is there is a world war going on for our hearts, minds, and souls. 100%.
yeah. The thing, my question is whether World War One was actually World War One rather than two, and two was three, because the First World War was when we had the conflict of religions, and it was and the destruction of both sides. That was probably the First World War, really, wasn't it?
Oh, okay. Yeah, fair point. I
well, I mean, they're all just names anyway, aren't they? Like,
Yeah.
war has been a constant. Like, the war's never stopped. Like, I remember a couple podcasts ago, John, you said that, oh, we've had a relative time of peace, but like, there's never really been peace in this world, has there? Like, at any given point, there's always been some war of some sort. And whether you want to call it the third or fourth world war or whatever, like, it's just an ongoing thing that we seem to do.
Yeah.
yeah,
It's interesting actually, because you're absolutely right. I mean, it's an innate quality that humans have. And funnily enough, going back to an episode that we were talking, actually two, we're talking about whether,
Good
what was,
advert, by the way.
yeah, no, no, we were talking about whether was it evil? No, it was. What were the other t three topics that we were talking about? Free will we had but lost, but we'll have to return to that. Um, is it?
Well, part of our conversation was about does evil exist innately, or are we born evil? I remember a bit of a conversation around that.
We
Yeah,
didn't actually film that podcast, did we? The nature nurture one. That was a topic that we spoke about doing, but haven't done.
yeah. There were. I know that we spoke of morality as well.
Morality, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And and I think you and I, Henry, were of the agreement that it wasn't biological. Yet, controversially, I would spoke about how if we were to change the DNA, genetic changing, we could instill the Ten Commandments into the perfect human being. Um, and I listened to a podcast recently, and they actually identified the gene within the human that is the aggressor, the killer gene, and it's called the recessive gene. It comes from the male, and that's why you have primarily more killers in men than you do women, because it comes from the inherited gene from your father, the Y chromosome, um, and it's with if you've got women have to have two X's, and they counter each other, where guys they don't counter each other. So if you've got like the blue eye is a recessive gene. If mum and dad have got blue eyes, invariably you will get it. Um, so they've identified the gene about the evil gene, or you know the genes with it, which is destructive, and so going back to morality, is it biological? And I was under the where I gave the proposal that it was set of principles. I think we all agreed on that. But I'm also thinking of, that we're born, we could be born to have immoral um, principles as well.
So how does this relate to the world war that we might be looking at right now?
Yeah, well, that's yeah, it's quite a big divert. We were talking about how it related to previous episodes, and I think we've got this. We are in the third world, and we are inherently. I think we're inherently as a species, we're warmongers, aren't we? We can't change that, and
So I struggle with that because I see you both agreeing with that a little bit, that
yeah,
we're inherently warmongers and we
yeah.
can't change that. I don't know.
Well, it goes back. It goes back to the genetics as well. Is that it's passed along by father to son.
Yeah, okay, but I think actually all those arguments, John, to me, kind of feel like they're created a little bit by the coming of the Antichrist in that, and I'll explain that a little bit. Um, Messing with genealogy, DNA, making human beings the God creator in science feels a little bit like an excuse to control things. So, for instance, when you can isolate, the destructive gene, as you call it, or the will to kill, then you kind of like breed that out of the human being. But then they're not really human beings. Because they're not feeling and thinking the full kind of like gamut of what it is to be human.
Well, I would disagree with you because the XY chromosome, the guys, and the XX, which the women have, the XXY, is that the genes within the female one is something like 1,500 genes within the chromosome, where with the male one, there's only 200. And because nature's actually depleting it. And it's whether we do that or not, I think you can breed. Selective breeding would give you a more harmonious human race.
But
Well,
my
like
point is that when we're given these kind of like what's the word? These narratives, and we're sold these narratives as science that are good for us,
uh,
then that is part of like the war on our hearts, minds, and souls from a spiritual point of view.
100%. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, and I think the huge problem for me is like like all the human race is constantly trying to do is, innovate, improve, move forward in some way. But what happens is you have this problem. So, for example, take the mobile phone. The problem could be not being able to communicate with someone on the other side of the world very easily. It would have been, a lot of work to do that. The mobile phone comes in, boom, you can do that. But with that, with any problem that we solve, comes a whole load of unconsidered
yeah.
problems or, whatever. So it's
It
it's
comes
the
back,
problems that come with it as well, like that we don't consider. And
but that's true. That's what goes back to say was like I said a couple of episodes ago, you said there's no solution to the problem. There's always a compromise.
yeah,
And and Thomas Sowell was the one who coined that. I don't know whether you're familiar with him. He's a black man and economics, very well spoken person. You're absolutely right. I mean, we try and make improvements, but there's always a trade-off, one way or another. I mean, when the typewriter came, with the printing press and things like that, everyone was shunning that. And, it was like, okay, we're going to lose our jobs because of new technology. Turns out that very few people actually lost their jobs, and it made humans a lot more productive. And as the computer came along, it was like, oh my God, everyone's going to go, it's going to be the end of the world. It turns out that we've all got a computer in our pocket now.
yeah. And now it's the
Well,
same with
well, hang
AI,
on.
right?
Yeah. I mean, there's lots of people that will look at things like AI and go, oh, it's the end of the world. It's like, fucking hell, I don't think so, mate. It's going
No,
to
no. I disagree with what you've just said there. You said like when it came along with the printing press, like that was seen as like the evil, and yeah, there was people who broke up the machines and stuff like that, wasn't there?
yeah.
Yeah. And the Gothenburg press was one of the first printing things, wasn't it, for the newspaper?
Yeah.
Um, but one of the first, not the first publication, but like one of the earlier publications that came out
Mm.
was the book about witches, and it said like these people are really bad. They should be burnt or ducked or rounded up. Like these were wise women who had knowledge of centuries and centuries, perhaps thousands of years, about how to commune and live with nature and the spirit of life. And they were rounded up and killed. So I don't see that as a very productive thing. So to say the printing press came along and we became better and more productive, I'd say no, we lost a hell of a lot of a legacy there, actually, that we're clinging on to at the moment. And that is part of the war against us, against our minds and souls, because that book about witches led to people being rounded up for heretics, etc., etc. And I see the same thing going on now with the internet, where we are being told what to think and we're being manipulated and forced into divisions, left, right, Islamic, Christian, all of these things, and it's creating a war.
Well, I considered that, and I listened to a lot of people, and it was saying, yeah, it's the algorithms. They're all, you get so annoyed on it, so you click on it and you comment, and that affects the algorithm. I'm looking at my feeds now. I'm going, right, that's AI, that's not AI, that's AI, and it's going. I mean, it's. I got to a stage. I've got to a stage now where I'm thinking it's it's it, it's going to be a lot of people are using AI now out there, and it's going to be this the downfall of its success. I think a lot of people are just going to turn it off and go, I don't believe it anymore. Because what's happened is that at the birth of AI, they used knowledge from around off the web, which was human influenced, and it was created and it was fact checked, and the likes of Wikipedia, where there's been corrections, it was corrected. The thing is, as AI propagates, it's going to pick up on its own false information, because there's a lot of people putting false information out there and using AI. So eventually that at the moment, I suspect it's probably about 40% of the information on the World Wide Web is probably AI now. Um, and it's going to come to a point where it's going to be about 85%. And AI will then take the information from the web, whether it be right or wrong, and use that. And people are going to be using AI like they are Google, finding information, and they'll be taking false information. And at some point, humans are going to go, it's killed itself. It used to be good. You used to get reliable information, but the information we're getting now, it's sourcing it from unreliable places and so it's going to implode personally. And I don't see how it's going to, um, it's going to be very fleeting AI.
Is the same thing happening with the reporting of the war? Do we actually know what's going on with the war, or is it so curated by media, newspapers, algorithms?
Well,
Uh,
I'm sure that we get the Western narrative, which is they're going to commit, they want nuclear weapons and they're going to kill us all. So that's what we're led to believe. But if you look at the Islamic states, they're going, this is jihad, this is the holy war, this is written in the scriptures. If this escalates to a point where it's total destruction, we will see the return of the Messiah. The
I'm
12,
not sure. I'm not sure they're putting that out on Al Jazeera, are they?
they do it in the mosques.
Okay. All right. Well, I don't know. It's
Yeah.
been
Well, I mean,
many years since I've been in a mosque.
there's 300 million people that believe in the 12th Imam. Now, the AI will tell you that's not what they preach. It's like you can't hurry up time by escalating the situation. It is what it is. But I'm sure there are imams out there that will go, listen, it's jihad. If you go out there and you will cause chaos, then that's jihad. That's just what we want. No problem. You do it and you're a martyr. Happy days. You'll be live, you know. God up there will praise you for it, because you're propagating the return of the 12th Imam, or the end of days. So yeah, it is. We're getting nuclear weapons, and they're going, no, you've got to carry on. Hezbollah is not going to stop. It will not stop. They see the the US and Israel as satanic. You
So
know,
I think you need a bit of a check here, John, because like obviously you're grouping, Islamic ideology. Um, you're at risk of grouping it all into one. What you're talking about is the like what they would say in the West, extreme beliefs
no,
of jihad.
no, no. The 12th Imam is across the board, right? Now, there are extreme people who will say, okay, by trying to speed up the process, go out there and commit jihad. Yeah, there are a small group of those, but nearly every single one of them who believes in Islam believes that there's the 12th Messiah did disappear and will return when the planet is in total chaos, just as the Christians, the Jews, believe in the end of times.
Hmm. Yeah, and the argument that Israel seems to be using is that that Iran want to uh, wipe them off the face of planet Earth,
Yeah.
and so therefore, obviously, they've got to do it first.
But they've
Um,
got to do it they do it for religious reasons. They don't do it because they don't feel threatened. They do it because it's written in the prophecy.
who are you talking about now?
Iran and the people that believe of the return of the 12th Imam.
Okay, all right. Well, I don't know why they're doing what they're doing.
Well,
Other than
that's what they do. That's why well, certainly Iran and Hezbollah believe that the US and Israel. But the thing is, I questioned it. I said, well, it was like, well, wait a minute. Weren't the Jews in that part of the world before the 12th Imam came about? Yeah, 2,000 years they were there before this 12th Imam came along. But this Imam came along and says, that's all bullshit behind. That what's happened in the past is bullshit. This is scripture. This is the word from God. Yeah. And it's written into scripture that this is how life on the planet Earth is going to proceed. And eventually there will come an end of times, or when the 12th Imam returns, when we've just totally destroyed ourselves. So it's not. I think that we're looking. It's been 12, the Third World War. I think that what we're looking at now is a bit bigger than a world war. It's you've got 300 million people that believe in or more in the end of days or the return of the 12th Imam, and they will stop at nothing to reach nirvana. So I don't think, regardless of whether Trump achieves his objectives, this is only a blip in time. They will return with to kill Israel and the US because they see them as interfering in their holy passage in time. As long as Israel is there and the Americans support them, then that's what it's going to be. So I think we talk about the Third World War. Uh, which yeah, I think that if you go to the Middle East, that we're talking about the return of the 12th Imam, or if any sort of Christian, the end of times. End of times is coming soon, and it's only when it all fucking blows up in our face then the Messiahs will return, and that's what they want. Because when they return, it will be nirvana. They'll put everything right.
Oh, well, that's a happy story, isn't
It is.
it?
So the question is that, I mean, yes, are we in the Third World War? Well, we're definitely in a world war. What's going to be, are the what's going to be the result in it? I mean, take Henry. I mean, are you hoping for the end of days?
I wouldn't say I'm hoping for it, but at the same time, like, it probably isn't as harrowing as it might be for someone like you. For me, it's returning home to a degree. It's if as a nihilist, I can imagine it's got a much more daunting feel than it does to me. It's almost as much as it's heartbreaking to think the things that are going to happen on Earth. It is kind of freeing in a sense to think that that's how things end.
How do you envisage it?
I don't know. I don't know, but in terms of what's going on in the world, like even this whole conversation saying, is World War III here? Is it end times? I really don't know because the way I see it and everything I consume, I'm always thinking I'm being sold a story in some regard. And, everything is narrative control. The world is a stage and we're being told things, so we believe certain things. You know, and I think quite often, like I can be here and I have my opinions or whatever, and I think I'm so smart and all this, but it's like realistically, I'm just doing exactly what they want me to do to some level. You know what I mean? I'm literally just eating the fucking soup. You know, so it's like I don't know. Recently, I've taken a step back from consuming too much because I just think on some level we're just goy. You know, we're just we're just bottom of the pile consuming. You know. So I don't know if that answered your question or not. I feel like I went off a bit there, but
No,
um,
I think we've all gone off on one a little bit there. Have you looked into the Book of Enoch at all? Which was that of any is that of any of interest to you? Because that talks about the fallen angels and the return of Gabriel, which is part of certainly the 12th Imam. It talks of Gabriel and Jesus, and at the end of days, it's I don't know. It's fact, the further.
I did have a look at that last week, actually, John, the Book of Enoch. I don't think it was included in biblical text, but it was certainly interesting when you view it through modern day eyes, because that's the thing, isn't it?
It's quite a big book. I didn't expect it to be as big as it is. There's the first chapter. What was it? The Awakening or something like that. What's the first? When they what did you read of it? Did you
Oh,
read?
don't test me on it, but it was something along the lines of, Enoch having a vision and being shown the source of all things and the angelic realms and the hellish abyss and the underworld and all sorts of things.
Uh,
And from this is where I differ with you two a little bit in that I don't see it as end days. I don't think anything could create an end to it all because energy just will carry on going. Spirit will carry on going. And I take a little bit of relief. I'm a bit like you, Henry, in that from a spiritual point of view, I relax in thinking, well, if this is what's happening, and it might be a bit of a bumpy ride, and it certainly feels like one on planet Earth at the moment and has done for decades, um, it's all going to be all right, and we'll all come through it, and something else will happen. What I don't want is darkness to take over the world. And what I do see when it comes to war, manipulation of information, telling us what to think, do, and say or consume, that's all part of the darkness, which there isn't a battle as such going on, but it certainly feels like a bit of a war on spirit and hearts and minds. Um, Going back to, well, is there more to say on that? Because we've gone really deep into that being the war on planet Earth, but I was really referring to, are we in World War?
yeah,
Which is
I took it to another level though, didn't I?
no, it's all good. I mean, that's what these conversations are for. Is there more to say on that spiritual level before we go back into like our humanistic looking at the politics of the day?
Well, there's probably loads to talk about there, but if you want to, round it up and talk of, on a specific subject, I'm more than happy to go down there if you like. I just gave you my interpretation of World War Three, was I think it's a little bit more than just a conflict in the Middle East. I think it's a conflict of ideology
Yeah.
and faith.
I'm going to tell you a little story about when I was a kid, actually, because it feels relevant somehow. In that, I can't remember how old I was, somewhere between
Just,
six.
just before you start, I,
Okay.
you're on fixed on your face is fixed on big screen. Is it? Have you uh, say something, Henry?
yo,
I,
what's up?
it does flick about. Sorry, it's just
Cool.
it seems to be on there for an awful long time. So
That's probably because I was just talking, but yeah,
go
okay.
on. Sorry.
That's worth checking.
When I was younger, and I was taken into a Christian bookshop.
Mm.
Now I'm not a Christian. I don't follow Christianity, but I definitely know that there's something bigger than us, and that might well be God. I don't know.
Oh, wait a minute. Before you go, I
Oh
look
no, no, oh no,
faith and
no.
belief. Belief is something that you can recreate. So if I get a match, light it and drop it in water, you believe it's going to go out.
Mhm,
If if you get in your car and drive to Scotland, you have
mhm,
faith that you're going to get there. In
mhm.
you don't believe it because you don't know it. You can't recreate it. So the difference is the belief and faith. Faith is you have um you're you're not sure whether it's there, but you have faith it is, where belief is it's repeatable. Okay.
Yeah, I think I used the words I know there is something bigger than us, didn't I? I didn't say faith and I didn't say I believe.
You did. You said I believe. Yeah, but anyway, that's why I brought you up on it because
Okay. What did I say I believed?
you were talking about your you believe there is a higher power. You have faith there's a
Well,
yeah.
well, we can look back on the replay, but I'm pretty sure I said I know there is something bigger than us.
Okay. Whether it's belief or
I might have used the word belief, but I don't think it was about a belief in God.
no, a belief in a higher power, you said. But anyway,
Yeah.
sorry to
And
interject, but go on.
and the Book of Enoch would
Yeah.
suggest that that is correct. Anyhow, moving on, and there's many things that would suggest that is correct. In my experience, from the things that I have known,
Uh,
I know there is something bigger and more powerful than us that is going on as this life on this planet. So anyway, when I was about and this was pretty much the start of it actually. When I was about 6, 7, 8, I was taken into a Christian bookshop. I believe it was in St Albans, in my hometown at the time, and I think I might have gone in there with my mum. She liked books. She did actually go to church more than once a year. Um,
so go on then. What was in the book and what was your understanding of this?
well, shut up and listen to the story, and I might get there, man.
You know,
Don't worry, we've got another 30 minutes, 45 minutes, something like that.
you
So
know
I
we
won't
were
take
about.
up all that time. But
Yeah.
so anyway, so I'm in that bookshop. There was two things that I'm drawn to. The
Yeah.
fact that it was called the Crusader Bookshop. I think I wanted to go into it. I think I took my mum into it. But that sticks in my mind. And I've thought about the Crusaders and the Crusade many times ever since. In fact, that summer, I'm pretty sure I dressed up as Richard the Lionheart at a fancy dress at primary school at the summer fete. Um, because there was something about this crusade that looked important, felt important, and it's stayed with me ever since. And I do have a kind of like a bit of a fascination with the crusade. Why I'm pulling this up is that that was one of the greatest, biggest wars and conflicts served up in the name of religion from a West to a kind of like Islamic, Arabic kind of state position, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And we're talking, when was that? That was a hell of a long time ago.
Yeah.
So there's that.
Yeah.
The other thing that I was drawn to in this bookshop was my mum said you can get something if you like, and I thought about buying a crucifix. I thought about some of the objects that were there. And what I settled on was a bookmark with a little tassel on, which then became part of my uh, um, pride. Uh,
Treasures. Yeah.
uh, yeah, and proud kind of possessions. Because what it was a picture of, oh, what's the artist's name? It was a picture of Jesus Christ
Mm.
standing outside a doorway, and the doorway had overgrown and there was no handle on the outside. So Jesus was holding a lamp and it was illuminated with halo, etc. It's a lovely post or pre-Raphaelite painting, and it sits in the a chapel in Oxford. And I've got to go and see it before I die, because apparently you can go and see it.
And that
It's
was quite a time in your life because.
because it was called the light of the world. I didn't recognize that as being very important when I was 6, 7, or 8. But what I did recognize was that picture was very important.
Mm,
And since in my adult life, I've gone, I wonder what that picture was. And I've done a bit of research, and it's called the light of the world. And I think why it's important and why it's relevant to this conversation is that I really believe, not know, I believe that the light is returning to planet Earth and that this chaos, war, all of these things is part of us awakening to that. And then there will be a time when we kind of like we live in that light again. Ah, there we go. That's him. That's the light of the world. So you can see Jesus is carrying the light of the world and he's knocking on the door, and that door can only be opened from within. So it's something that we have to find within. We can't find it or destroy it or control it outside of us. So the fact that we're trying to do that through war is nonsense. And I think it's an excuse to do that in the name of any belief or religion. And I think we're all kind of being sold one on that one. In fact, some people, I know Andrew Tate was questioning whether the war was going on at all, and that it was just kind of part of some global theatrics that is distracting us from other things. And actually, it's more about some, I don't know, control and the economics and everything going on. But so that picture is the thing that gives me faith, if you like, John,
mm,
that that will be okay. And that's why I differ with you guys to say we're just destructive and it will always be that way, because he was somebody, allegedly, through that story, that showed us that we don't have to be like that.
mm.
And I don't think we do.
Yeah,
Hmm. It's a good story.
yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? It's
Hmm.
interesting that you were um, drawn to biblical references. That was probably because you've been conditioned in it. I'm sure that if you grew up in India or Pakistan, you would had Islamic or Hindi um, influences as well, wouldn't it?
Yeah, and if I grew up in Iran, I'd probably think that you were an infidel and needed to die. I don't know.
Well, yeah, and yeah, not only that, and you would die killing me, and you would go to heaven, and you would have done that in the name of jihad. So you
But
you would
but
have.
wait, but wait. There's a thing about we shouldn't group them all together because there is so many Iranians. This is part of the problem of immigration, actually, that there's people from Afghanistan, people from Iran, people from Syria, people from Libya, people from all over the place that have grown up in those oppressive regimes that have been bombed to shit by our governments and have been displaced and have had to look elsewhere for somewhere that is tolerant, that doesn't care what
Well,
you wear,
you know,
that you can sing, that you can be a woman, that you can carry a frigging musical instrument and not be whipped and flogged and imprisoned for it.
but if you take all the Christian or all the wars around the world currently around the world, I think the stat is around 88 or 98% of the current conflicts is derived from Islam. Uh,
Ukraine,
yeah, I mean, and it's a small one, mate. It's a small one. Uh,
that's a small war, is it?
yeah, compared to all the terrorists and the war, everything. that the destruction around the planet is primarily it comes. I mean, the the Shias and the Sunnis have been fighting with one another for thousands of years, you know, um, and the more and these more people at war within the Islamic um, religion than there is any other religion around the world.
That's incredible for a peace loving religion, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah, it's just bizarre. And whether it's 98 or 88, that's a fuck of a lot. You know,
Well,
it was like when I had to drill down on the facts on it, it was, oh, yes, but, it's the Christians did this and, and this and that and this. And it's like, yeah, yeah, okay. But, I'm talking about terror, bombs, assassinations, talking about all, everything, not just big conflicts like the Crusades. When I talk about all conflicts, whether it be a man on a plane dropping a bomb with a shoe bomber, whether it be anything. I mean, Timothy McVeigh, and that was a terrorist attack, killed loads of people. But the majority is. It's sad to say that, isn't it? Really, because I'm sure there are good people who don't want to that but have similar values as everybody else. Well, not everybody else. I think that lots of people share similar values, and it doesn't matter what color or race or religion they are. We sit around and you find that in primary schools as well, don't you? And the black girls, Jews, and boys, they all sit together and they happily play with one another. It's well,
I
some of
think
the
it's right. Like you say, John. It seems to me that like any religious groups of people, they seem to be the most um, you know, targeted in these sorts of conversations. Like, people mention Islam when it comes to war. And I'll be honest, I don't know how much of it is down to religion or Islam or Christianity or Judaism or whatever. But it's funny because in my mind, like the person that I would fear the most in any situation would be an atheist, would be someone that doesn't have God in their life. Like for me, like all the Muslims I know are some of the most devout, genuine people. Genuine, and I don't know that many, but the few that I know, they're good people.
Yeah,
And
me too.
and I think it's interesting that like it always seems to come down to religion when we talk about war. And it for me, like the people to fear the most are the ones that don't have God in their lives, the ones that don't believe in something bigger. Because who are you really living for then? It's
I would question that. I say, if throughout history, if religions have fought with one another, can you name um, any war that was started or finished by a group of people who didn't believe in a god?
well, honestly, I don't have a clue either way. Like I couldn't tell you one's for or against. Like it's not
But
something I'm comfortable in. But
yeah, but I can't. I don't know any atheist war. Do you? Should we
no,
Google
I don't.
it?
No, I don't. But again, it like I don't know
serious on
what it
this
really
now.
comes down to. Is the point I'm making as well? Like it.
But
I
you,
just think it's interesting.
but
Like
you,
it's
you
just
have
I'm just
fear in the unknown.
reflecting on what I hear.
You've
Sorry.
got fear in the unknown then. Surely it would make sense to find out whether rather it being an unknown to find out. If
Yeah,
you're if
but
you
sometimes you're finding out stuff that isn't true though as well, and then you're
well,
biased by thinking
I
stuff
don't
like
know. I personally don't know. Do you know if there's any war that started or finished by with an atheist, Tim?
feel free to look it up, John.
Well, no, but the
Not a
thing is,
question that's on
I
my
would be
mind.
intrigued to know if there is.
I know. Okay, well, you be quiet while you Google it for
Yeah,
a
you two
second.
But
chat on.
even like the point I'm trying to make is it's interesting how it always this is what people say, right? Like, and I'm just reflecting on what I've heard. Like I'm not even suggesting anything. I'm just simply asking the question. Like it's interesting how it always seems come down to Islam, Christianity. Like it might be true. It might be. I don't necessarily believe it is, but it's interesting. That's always how it's framed.
Yeah,
In these conversations.
yeah,
And I don't know. That to me, it just slightly rings alarm bells. Like, and maybe that's false as well. But
yeah.
I just
Me
think it's an
too.
interesting point.
And it certainly comes down to differences in values and beliefs about what is right and wrong a lot of the time. But when you see pictures of somebody like Donald Trump sat at a desk surrounded by lots of people laying hands on him and praying for him in the name of Christianity. And then they're putting out like marketing videos kind of going, let's light them up and let's destroy these mother effers and all that sort of stuff. You start to question, is it really in the name of like some sort of deep value, or is that all just kind of a charade? And I'm kind of with you. I'm like, what sort of person would drive a campaign of destruction if they had real belief, compassion, love, and understanding for all of humanity? Like, and the answer is no, no one would.
Well, to answer your question, no major wars in history have been explicitly started in the name of atheism.
Okay, that's great.
So
Have
I don't think there's much to worry about there.
could
Do
you
you
Google?
believe that? No, I'm just asking. Like, I'm not saying I don't. I'm just asking if you do.
Um, Personally, probably, yeah, because I can't, when I think back, no major wars. Um, so that's put a caveat on that. I think all religions in the past, all wars in the past has been either geographical territory or political or religious, you know. I
Yeah,
think the Vikings just needed, were sick of inbreeding and needed to go and find some new pussy. Um, Political, the British and the Spanish and the Portuguese and the French, they were all go and find new territories and spread the word of God. That was also religious. Certainly with the Spanish and Portuguese, it was all about spreading the word of God as well.
I would like challenge that actually, because somebody like Columbus was told to go out and find as much gold as he could, and to try and do it humanely. But if that couldn't be done, then just get enough gold and bring it back.
Yeah, but he was instructed by the king who had an ear to God, didn't he?
Well, so they said. So yeah, okay. I mean, I would be interested in asking Google the question of, okay, give me a breakdown of the religious philosophies that have gone to war, and seeing whether there's a hierarchy of, the Christians do it more than
Oh,
uh, the Islamics, or, is there a Buddhist war? Yeah, I think there has been, hasn't
yeah,
there?
yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah. Um, yeah, there's certainly been Sikh, Muslim, yeah, all sorts of multi-faith wars. But that would be interesting to check out. World War is generally defined as a hypothetical global conflict involving major world powers. And I think we can definitely say we are in the middle of that when you see America taking over Venezuela, or trying to manipulate and take over Iran, and maybe by proxy, Ukraine as well. Russia are involved. I think even China are involved in a way, because if we look beneath the oil, and which is definitely why Venezuela and Iran are targets, let's be real here. It may be about inflicting economic control or damage on certain, like, different countries. So, and the criteria for war also includes direct military clashes between superpowers, and the superpowers are generally US, China, Russia. Yes, that's happening, isn't it? Even China are kind of making moves on Taiwan, possibly. So I think there's enough criteria to say we're definitely in a world war. I don't know what number it is, John. I think that's quite interesting.
See,
And
like I wonder how much these storylines they matter at all because like the way I see it, everyone, bar from a very, very, very tiny amount of people, the elites, if you like, are victims of war. So these storylines that come out, these things that we go, okay, well, this is what led to the war. I hate to be like the conspiracy theorist one, like doubting everything, but I don't know if I believe any of it. Because the way I see it, war is there to make certain people more profitable, more powerful. A very small amount of people, the rest of us, cannon fodder, right? So in my mind, they have a goal, and then the storylines is the way of getting to the goal. It's like, okay, we want a war. What do we tell the goyim to make it happen? You know? Like I
yeah,
don't even know if any of this storyline is real. Like,
yeah,
and I
Yeah.
hate to just be like throwing doubt everywhere because it just sounds a bit weak, but that's genuinely how I see it. Like
Okay.
I don't.
My question was, which of the religions are the biggest warmongers? Okay. So actually starts from top to bottom. Christianity is the worst, 2.52 billion. Islam is second, 1.9. Hindu
what's the numbers? What's the numbers? Sorry, John. What's the numbers after?
Christianity is 2.52 billion.
No, but what does that number represent? Sorry, friend.
Since warmongering does not exist beyond the top two mentioned. The top two is Islam. Well, Islam associated with 66 of the 122 religious wars, 3.7 identified in the Encyclopedia of Wars. Christianity is linked to the remaining religious conflicts of 3.2 of the total wars, and then non-religious secular ideologies. So, but since ranking by warmongering does not exist beyond the top two mentioned, here are the world's largest religious by number of followers. So, by number of followers, Christianity is first, followed by Islam, but by a percentage of warmongering, Islam first, then of 3.7, followed by Christianity of 3.2. So there's not a
Okay.
lot between Islam and Christianity,
All
which
right.
would probably indicate that they've been fighting with each other for a long time.
And we know that to be true,
Yeah.
especially since the Crusades and maybe even before. And I think those are just indicative numbers, aren't they? And it's interesting, but we're also falling into what Henry is challenging, kind of saying, well, is this all just part of some made up bullshit narrative to kind of control the way that we think about it all and us as like cannon fodder? And certainly my grandma on my dad's side used to call us cannon fodder
Yeah,
when it
I
came
would
to war.
agree. I mean, I think religion was a way to control the masses. Um, I think that's been perpetuated historically as well. You know, don't do that. That's a sin. Ooh, wait till you die. You'll go to hell. You can't do this. Don't take the God's name in vain, and all that kind of stuff. So it was a way of controlling. It's controlling the children, bring them up with values and morals that aligns with your beliefs or your faith. So you know, I think where did we start with this? We started with is this World War Three? Probably. I don't think it's World War Three. Um, I think it's a small aspect of the evolution of human beings. You put a name on it if you like. Don't think it's World War. I don't think it is. I don't. I think you know. I think personally, I think America politically won't have the stamina, and I think Iran. They're they've got millions of people. They've got over 100,000 soldiers. Then they've got 3 million volunteers that are absolutely determined to follow the scriptures of Iran and jihad and see the destruction of Israel and the US. So I don't think they'll win. I don't. Nothing's going to come out of it. I think Trump will just say, "Yeah, I've won. Thanks very much," and walk away. Where they will just sit happy and carry on with building arms so that it can destroy Israel.
Wow,
That's
that's bleak.
Yeah, it is that way. I mean, they believe that it's a Israel is an outpost of America, and it's a satanic, and it needs to be destroyed that way. And each generation that are born into it, all the Palestinians, all the Iranians, that's how it's going to be. It's going to go on and on and on, and it's gonna whether it'll be the third world, I think world war, it's going to be a war, and it'll be one of thousands to come, I
I
believe.
I hate to bring it up, but I'm wondering whether, given that we know that Epstein was a Mossad and Israeli spy, and probably for other countries as well, the
Yeah.
Epstein files that are kind of currently pointing towards some sort of satanic, powerful elite trying to run and control things, pointing at Israel and America. I wonder whether you've just said that Iran believe that Israel is satanic and should be destroyed. I'm wondering whether they've got a point.
What do you think that? What sort of point?
Just what you said. You said they believe
Yeah.
that Israel is satanic. I'm not saying Israelis because I've got some really good friends who are Orthodox Jews. A rabbi and his wife, other people that I know that are Jewish or non-religious Jews as well. I'm not saying all of them, but I'm just saying the people in power who are trying to use their ideologies and religion as a cover to do some pretty awful, evil things like wiping out loads of Palestinians and now Iranians and
Well,
Syrians.
it's more Hezbollah, isn't it? Really, they want to kill, and some of the offshoots of these fanatics. That's what they would really want to, but they won't. Yeah, no, I don't think they've got a point at all. I think it's all a load of fucking bollocks. To follow that. If you think about it rationally, I mean, who the fuck? The return of the Messiah, really? The raising of the dead. The dead's going to return. The guy, if he comes back, the 12th Imam, if he's come back, it's going to be 1,500 years old, for crying out loud.
So I don't know enough about the
Well,
return of the 12th Imam.
it's just crazy. The thing is that what really fucking boils my piss, if you like, is that it can people not see this as a fiction? This is not reality, for crying out loud. How can you have a, you can't have a level conversation with someone who believes in a fantasy. But in my opinion, that's a fantasy what they believe in. They believe that, yeah, okay, so the 12th Imam is, and no disrespect to you, Henry, but I mean, I believe Jesus Christ exists, okay? Whether he was Son of God, I mean, I don't know. I don't think so. That's why uh, sort of uh, I'm sort of not, I'm agnostic from that point of view. I think you can prove it one way or another. Um, Show me the evidence and I'll believe you, but there isn't any. And so it's a faith, and it's you can't prove anything. And it's if you were to sit down and say, listen, I bleed the same color as you. Why can't we live in harmony? It says, well, and they've got another one saying, this is written in the Holy Scriptures. This is what we've got to do. You know, but having Israel here perpetuating their belief it goes is contrary to what we believe in, and we believe that this must happen in order for us to all go to nirvana. So you've got to go. Yeah, we've got to see we've got to wipe you from the planet because otherwise it won't happen. And that's what they believe. And it's like,
Maybe they're doing you a favor then.
well, how do you deal with that? You can't. Yeah, I think the sooner we all sort of come into the reality of, I say, it's all very well having a faith, but you can't base your society and the rules of society based on these.
Why not? That's what everyone does, surely.
That's what a lot of people do, and that's why a lot of people are at war because they say our religion is right and yours is wrong, and our religion, like the Old Testament says, listen, if any other god than me, then you have free will to kill them. And it's like, well, if they say that and the Muslims say this, it's like, well, is there any wonder that the Christians and the Christian and Christianity and Islam have been fighting with one another because what each of them say kill each other. It's like fucking madness, isn't it?
Yeah, and that's herein lies the problem. You
And
know,
it's a growing population. So we've got, 100 years ago, we had something like 5 billion people on the planet. We've got best part of 8 or 9 billion now. And there's more people picking up the Bible now than there has in the last 50 years. So the Christianity is growing and Islam is growing. I can only see it getting worse. It's fucking tragic, isn't it? And it's all based on um, this belief that I'm right and you're wrong, sort of thing. But how fucked up is that? Couldn't is then? I know I'm the last person that likes to compromise, but when it comes down to uh, murder or death or killing somebody, I mean, do you not draw the line there and say, right, but there's no reason for us to die over it, is it?
well, you would hope so, but I mean, you've pointed to the fact how that happens. You've said that you're the last person to want to compromise, and the reason for that, as far as I can tell, John, is that you have strong opinions and strong morals that are set. But surely we could be able to be bigger than what we are in order to move towards kind of coming together with unity on some of the things we can agree on, like that, like loving one another for what we agree upon,
Mm.
and allowing each other to live how we want to. But there seems to be a bit of a war on that as well when
Yeah,
it comes
no,
to
there is.
politics, religion, identity, spirituality, freedom. This is just part of that, as far as I can see.
Yeah, I think we're
You
all.
know,
Sorry, go on, Henry.
no, sorry. There's a lot of these things that we hear, isn't there? Like, like you're saying, John, that war comes from religion, and yeah, like there's a saying, oh, not all Muslims are terrorists, but all terrorists are Muslims, and things like that. And like, for me personally, before I followed Jesus, like I would have probably believed in stuff like that. Like, not, I was young, like, so I'm not saying I was too one way or the other, but I would have maybe bought into things like that, maybe. And like the point I'm trying to make is like from my own experience, I can't see any of these things you're saying. If I watch the news every day and if I followed certain things, I might believe that. But like from my own experience, the few Muslims I know and me coming to Jesus myself, like I've never been more free, I've never been more loving, I've never been more accepting than I am now. And I that is all to do with Jesus, 100%. Like there's no other way I could have got to where I am now without Jesus. And
You're
I
accepting
just
of
think
other people and their beliefs. Is that right, Henry? Henry,
sorry,
you're accepting of other people's beliefs and faiths.
100%, yeah. Yeah.
So there is a there are some people on there that don't have that. I mean, what? And that is my problem is how do we deal with people that don't have, how we deal with people like that?
Well,
Sure. No,
even
I hear
even
that. And
And
go
I
on.
know it, I know it's I want to be more specific in it. I think we've all agreed, that I think we're in agreement. All of us are in agreement. But
I don't know what we're agreeing right
I don't
now
know.
because
There's a lot that's been said that I don't agree with, to be honest.
really,
Yeah.
what like
I haven't said too much this podcast, but I don't know. I think a lot of what we've said has been framed around Islam versus Christianity in a sense. And for me, there's no group of people that I see myself agreeing with more than Muslims. Like if there was one group of people, if I had to say, I don't know, spiritualists or nihilists or Muslims or Jew, I would say the people that I align with closest is probably Muslims.
Really?
So I think it's interesting that a lot of this conversation has been around like Christianity versus Islam in a sense. I don't know, like from my own experience, that just doesn't feel true
I'm with you.
personally.
I'm
Yeah,
with you. And I would say like people who are accepting like us, if we're professing to be accepting, let's try and go and live somewhere like Iran or like on the Gaza Strip and then see how that goes for us.
Why would
not very well. I wouldn't have
no,
thought.
I can't as a as an experiment. Why
Well,
would,
no,
I don't understand why you'd want to do that. They would see you as a white.
yeah,
It
no,
probably
I
end up.
don't think I don't think Jet2 are currently selling holidays there, but and I'm not saying we should
How
as
would
an
that
experiment.
benefit us?
No, it wouldn't at all. That's my point. My point is that you're saying, oh, we should be accepting, and you're accepting of other people, and la la la. But let's look at what's currently happening. What's
Mm.
happening is we cannot accept that as humanity collectively. And if we were to do that experiment, and even if it's hypothetically in our head, so how would I go? How would I fare if I went to somewhere like that and had to try and fit in or live under that sort of those conditions, it wouldn't go well at all. We wouldn't be able to be as accepting because we'd be absolutely furious about what was going on around us, I'm sure.
Yeah, I think that if you grew up in Iran, you'd be told by your family and your neighbor that the West is and Israel is terrible. Look, we've got sanctions. We can't do this. We can't do that. And this is how we want to live our lives. And it goes against their ideology. So we consider them as um, satanic. So I don't know.
Yeah, that's what I was pointing to, really. I was kind of going, it's all right, us being able to say this from the relative comfort, apart from a load of aircraft leaving the Stirling lines on maneuvers the other night. And it kept me awake at like 2:30 at night. There was a lot, big drone, big
Mm.
like sonic booms and stuff like that. Um, Apart from that, I've been relatively unaffected, apart from seeing the images on the news like everybody else. But if you live there, how do you try and be that person that we're trying to talk about as being accepting, loving, understanding in those conditions? It's just horrendous.
It must be. And the thing is, though, I mean, we sit here and this is how we feel. And I must say, of the few people that I know here, one is a Muslim and a really nice person. Got nothing against him at all. And his family and all the power to him to be the success he is. Um, but if you were to grow up as a Muslim in Iran, you'd be conditioned into believing that you have to fight for the holy war and you'd have to kill Israel. I mean, but
Or you would have escaped and got out.
yeah, yeah. But it would have been tried. They would have tried to indoctrinate you into that belief, but their mum and dad may have a different belief for you and say, "Listen, it's not like that." Because there are moderates. There are moderates in all aspects of society and all over the world. Some are a bit more harsh than others, and there's some moderates. That's not to say every single Muslim is got on jihad. I don't think so. But if you've got this warmongering gene in you, I think might have a propensity to do that. And as long as they're inbreeding and they don't like the idea of women being born and they want boys, this propensity for warmongering is going to be perpetuated, and it's just going to get worse and worse and worse. And yeah,
Yeah, I agree. Donald Trump has had far too many children.
but then it's
So, what is this warmongering gene? Because, like, obviously, if it's a gene in our body, it serves a purpose, right? Like, it wouldn't be there otherwise. So, what actually is it? Because it's not the warmongering gene, is it? But
well, it's well, what that's exactly they've identified the gene, a common gene within their sons and their fathers and their grandfathers, and they're being passed from generation to generation. and they've looked at this. They've looked at similar gene. They've looked at the same genes in people that are passive and not aggressive, and it doesn't exist.
Hmm.
And so when that, so as a result, is when they procreate these people, if they procreate and have a woman, then it could be that the woman, if she's got the same gene, then you'll have an aggressive girl. But if the woman has the gene that is with that has the gene, but it's not the same, it's all without that extra little bit in it, then it counteracts each other. So um, it's that it is there. It is most definitely there. The technology is called CRISPR, and they're doing gene editing now because they can look at the genes within a human and they know if you've got any sort of autoimmune deficiencies or they've got, there's all sorts of things, and they know they can flag them up and say, well, you've got a propensity to have this. We can edit this now, and we can improve your chances. Um, and there's a lot of people that are doing that now. I mean, it's big in America. In America, they want, if you go for IVF in America, you can go to special places and you want 6'2", blonde hair, blue eyes, who's got an MIT, an IQ of 140. You can request those. You can request those now, and you can have a baby with those genes in there. And
Wish my mum had done that for me. Fucking hell.
yeah, and
And it's
but and the thing is, I personally don't see that as a problem. I think that if we, if we can do that with, I think we should be looking at DNA for every child that's born.
I hear you, John, but let me give you a slight example to kind of like adjust your thinking, hopefully, because I don't agree with you. There is a genetic deficiency or degenerative disease that I can't remember the name of it, but it results in you getting like Alzheimer's kind of symptoms later on in life. It affects 1 in 1,000.
Mm.
And sorry, sorry, no, it affects more than that. But 1 in 1,000 will go on to commit a violent crime when they get that degenerative kind of like progression later on in life, which means that, and they know what that gene is. And they know that a lot of people suffer this thing, but only 1 in 1,000 go on to commit a violent crime, maybe murdering their own wife or husband or mother or father or something like that. It happens. It's a real thing. I can't remember what it's called.
Oh yeah.
But my point is, if we know that out of all these people, 1 in 1,000 is going to commit a crime, likely based on stats, do we edit that gene out of everybody just on the basis because like that means we try and avoid those crimes,
Mm.
but that might have an even more horrendous effect. And I think what you're
It
going
goes back
through.
to what Henry says at the beginning. There is no solution. There's always a compromise, and by editing that gene in order to achieve an objective, what's the compromise? Are we going to suffer an unforeseen uh, result in editing that gene? You might solve that problem, but you might generate another. And it's like, well, yeah, that there is an issue there, but.
Well, why would you try and do it then?
Well,
Because then you're from my point of view, you're walking into the acceptance of a antichrist kind of agenda, really.
I think, but if you, yeah, it's like everything else in life. Where there's mistakes, you learn from your mistakes, and we try to improve on these things. With technology, for example, we look to make things smaller and more efficient, and so it improves productivity. We look to we look to instill morals and within children in order that they don't go awry and do things that is amoral. We do that through psychological tricks or conditioning them into believing that something terrible is going to happen to them. We do that with animals as well. I mean, you well, if we're looking to make an improvement, sure, that's better than just having a laissez-faire and going, well, don't improve, don't change it because that's the way God intended. I mean, if that was the way, then we wouldn't have drought-resistant crops. We wouldn't have breeding of pedigree dogs and animals with degenerative diseases. We wouldn't be using vaccinations. We would say no. If that's what it is, that's what it is, and you'd be a Mormon almost. You wouldn't believe in the doctors. You wouldn't. If that was the way God intended, then you just leave it for to carry on the way it is. And if that was your philosophy, then if someone was born with a degenerative disease, do you try and accommodate their disease, or do you just let them say, "Well, that's the runt of the litter, let them go"? That was God's intentions. I mean, where do you draw the line? I mean,
I think you
I
draw
think
the line at exactly that, John. I think you say, well, that's how God it, or the Creator
so you
intended
don't
it.
see the
And
benefit of looking after people with mentally handicapped.
let me finish. I,
Uh,
I think we can try and do as best as we can down that line. But given the fact that we've
well, why
been
try at all? My
hang
question
on, hang on. Given the fact that we've been fighting holy wars for at least 1,000 years now, I
is,
don't agree that we're living and learning and improving in any way. So
no.
no, I don't try and I don't think we should try and improve too much on perfection.
I know that recessive gene or that warmongering gene is being passed on to our generation and generation and generation, and we're doing nothing about it. We're just letting it carry on. There's
I
more.
don't believe in a warmongering gene. I think there might be a
Well, it's there,
propensity.
Tim. Whether you believe it or not, that may be your faith. You may have faith it's not there, but there is. It can be shown to be exist. It's there. It's not a question of I don't believe it to be there. It is there. It's shown. It's like as you drop a match into water, it's going to go out. It is evident. You can reproduce it. It's to scientific reason. It's proven.
I don't think so. I think what you're
But it's true.
describing, let me say, I don't think so. I think what you're describing is more a theory and less of a principle. The
No,
principle,
no, it's not. It's most definitely there. They can take it out and show it without, and they can do it with all sorts of gene editing stuff. It's not just that. They know all sorts of stuff, and they've done it with animals. They take the gene out, and they can see how and they've proven it in the lab as well, in and out of the test tube.
Don't
And
you think that's necessary for some people to have that?
well, I don't really. Is there a need for warmongers? Is
Well,
there?
no, I'm not speaking warmongering specifically, but you're talking about like like being able to be violent, essentially, aren't you? Like that. It's not specifically warmongering, is it? It's like the capability to be violent and get aggressive and
Well, it's yes and no. I mean, they've got these people that they've identified is that they've got no when they kill an animal, for example, they don't feel any emotion about it. They may get actually elated by it. You know,
right.
where a normal person would, if you kill an animal, it'd be like, oh, that's terrible. I don't want to do that again. I feel really awful. These people either have no emotion or get excited by it. And
Right.
and I think that if you get no emotion by it, but the thing is, and that's why you get these people that are have the propensity to go down sadomasochistic adventures is because that what's normal for you and I is not they don't get anything out of it. They have to go down and see all sorts of fucking really bizarre, horrible stuff in order to get a rise out of it. And it's like, is that normal? Well, if we can edit that out and put the gene in so that they can get a lob on with a woman, just, isn't that better rather than fucking wanting to, you know?
I don't know. I was just sort of getting to the point that surely it serves a purpose because I don't believe it would be there if it didn't have some sort of purpose.
But
And
it's
if it's purely to warmonger, then obviously that doesn't seem very beneficial. But that's why I asked: is it just about violence? Is it okay? You're saying it's deeper than that. There's like a there's a lack of remorse there as well, almost. So, like I don't fully understand it, so I'm
yeah,
not.
that's exactly
But
that. There's no remorse. They've got no emotion with it at all. It's, it's fairly new. It's probably in the last 10, well, they started looking at CRISPR for probably in the last, as far as I know, 20 years, but it's always been theoretical. And then they've been able to do it in and out of the chest tube. They've done it in the chest tube, then doing the gene editing, and then they did it outside of the chest tube with animals, and they've shown to be able to develop mannerisms and behavior in animals, and they know that they're beginning to do it with humans now. Well, yeah, you can do it with humans. There are some society. I don't think it's valid in the UK, only in a few states, but definitely in China, they're doing it as well. And it's yeah, I can't really, to just if you've got handicapped people, if two handicapped people are going to have babies with one another, and there's a chance that they're going to have handicapped children. I mean, that's just bizarre, really. Why you'd want to do that? It's wouldn't
what have the child or not intervene?
well, wouldn't you if you had the choice if you but two handicapped people, if you had the choice of having a child and the doctor saying, listen, if you don't have this change in the gene, then your child will have the problem that you've got, you know.
Yeah. No,
They,
I hear
they
that.
will
I hear that.
eventually have a curved spine, go deaf and dumb, and die at the age of 16. Or
Mm.
we'll do the gene editing and they'll live a completely normal life, like everybody else. Why would you not choose that?
Yeah. I mean, that's isolated. That sounds great, and I definitely hear what you're saying. I just think it's a slippery slope when we start doing shit like that, and I just think, especially like knowing that humans are greedy, are corrupted. I
Yeah.
just think
No,
it just seems like the start of the end for me.
yeah,
Like,
I think there is reason to be cautious about that because there are people out there who will say, okay, well, I want the MIT. I want a little bit of aggression in my child because I don't want them to be bullied. I want to be able to fight really well. So I want
yeah,
that to be pepped up a little bit. I want them to be, I don't want them to be promiscuous. I want them to, it's a menu sort of thing, really. And then you've got these hybrids of fucking humans that are doing all sorts of fucking weird that, and then they're interbreeding and it could go all really. But I mean, fucking, where are we now? We've got fucking a history of 1,000 years of killing each other. Does it get any much worse than that?
I think you're crediting people with more intelligence or time to think about these things than they've actually got. Most people are just trying to survive, do the best they can, falling in love with whoever they fall in love with, or not being in love with whoever they're
I don't think. I
with.
think
And I'm
people.
speaking,
Yeah,
and I'm still speaking,
yeah, no.
and no, I haven't made the point I'm going to make yet.
Mm.
And I think some people are just have babies. And in particular, there are some cultures that do interbreed, maybe marry cousins, things like that. And what you're suggesting is controlling that. We've tried having conversations with them to say, well, if you marry your cousin, it's likely that you're going to have some birth defects and some abnormalities and blah blah blah, but they are still breeding. What I'm saying is, I think we should try and give up trying to be God when we're not.
But you can't help yourself. I mean, there's a lot of people, they have their children and they want them to go to Cambridge. Ideally, do your homework, do good, go to Cambridge, you get a degree, get a really good job, marry into money. It's rife everywhere.
It's
It's
not everywhere. It's just mostly what you're describing are Western ideals.
Well, we get a lot of people from China wanting to go to Cambridge and MIT and all the high universities. There's thousands of people that want to come there.
I hear you, but two-thirds
Thousands.
of planet Earth is still tribal, so I don't think they
But given
still.
the opportunity, Tim, I'm fairly
Two
sure
thirds.
they would want the best for their children, and if that means education and going to social and sitting next to the future King of England, that's what they would want to do. They're not. Then would there's very few that would say, "Nah, come and sit by my mud hut. You'll be all right." That idea of going to fucking Cambridge and sitting with the kings and queens of the Western world, that's a load of bollocks. I
I
think
believe so, Henry. I I don't know to be honest, but yeah, I reckon about two-thirds
of what.
of planet Earth is tribal and more primitive than what you're talking about.
So you would say two-thirds don't aspire for our children to have a better life than ourselves.
No, I didn't say that, but I'm saying that it probably doesn't figure in their thinking, and they certainly haven't got the tools, the wherewithal, the intellect to actually go down those paths because it's not that important to them.
Oh, I would disagree. I think there's all sorts of stars and music coming out of Africa. You see them on TikTok in videos out of Africa. You see them on YouTube's. They all want their 5 minutes of fame. I don't think it is a minority. I think it's an innate thing to better yourself. You want. I would. Yeah. I can't think of anybody that is not is so laissez-faire about their children that they couldn't care less whether they had yeah, whether they read a book or not. I think that
That's not
all.
what I'm saying. I'm saying they don't want you interfering in it.
Okay.
I'm not saying they're laissez-faire and they couldn't care less. I'm saying they don't want you to interfere in it, and they're not. It's not in their thinking to want to interfere with it.
Well, I think that they do. I think that all of them want to improve and want their children to have a better life than themselves. I don't know many parents that don't have that, and it's relative. If you're in a hut and a mud hut in Africa, you aspire and you have to walk 5 miles every morning for water. I think what you as a parent, you probably aspire for your children to be able to tap at home in their mud hut, and that would be what they would want. I think it's all relative.
Yeah, I agree with what you're saying, to a certain extent, but I don't agree with the gene therapy and the control of it. Can I
Well,
bring us back to?
I can't think of any rational decision not to have and not to have that. Would you not? I can't think of, is there a rational decision not to have an improvement in your child?
So I don't disagree that most parents want better for their children and they want the best for themselves and their families. That's what I'm agreeing with. I agree with that in general. I don't agree. There are some rational reasons why not to go down the route of gene therapy. Maybe COVID virus is one of them. Um, maybe thalidomide is another. There are many reasons.
This came about by a drug out of that's not an inherited disease. That it comes by that was aspirin that was given to pregnant women in
I accept your argument. What I'm saying is us tampering with God and trying to make things better makes things worse sometimes in a lot of ways.
Mm.
Can you give us an example of that?
Well, I've just given two, COVID virus, thalidomide, TB and tuberculosis because of our overuse of antibiotics. It's not gene therapy, but it is science trying to better things for other people. Maybe if you start looking at, Bill Gates and his so-called philanthropy around the world for medical science, we might get somewhere as a really deep
Was that
argument as
you?
well.
Would you say that the interventions uh, outweigh the negative interventions outweigh the positive interventions?
I have no idea because I'm not a scientist conducting that sort of
No,
research.
no, it doesn't matter. You don't have to be a scientist. You just have to have a knowledge on whether whether
Okay, let
medical
me
interventions have improved
All right. Let me
on.
have an opinion on that, and then we'll get back to World War and whether we're currently in it and bring this to a wrap. But my opinion is that quite a lot of our tampering causes trouble, especially in the pharmaceutical industry, and especially given that we research things that are profitable over and above what's good for people.
Yeah, no,
And
that's true. I'd agree with that. I think there's something like 82% of the drugs that have go through the FDA are rejected,
Mm.
and a further 26 or 29% of the approved drugs that go through the FDA in America get recalled because there's terrible things that happen to them. And there's only a small percentage of the drugs that actually are in society that actually work and are effective. So I would agree that where it's profit driven, um, then there's a problem there, definitely.
Mm. Yeah. And it's funny how FDA approved holds a lot of weight, doesn't it? That seems like a valid thing to say, but in actual fact, your stat just there proves that maybe it's not got the weight that we give it.
Yeah, no, no, it's quite shocking, really. And when I read that, I thought, Christ. That comes with the big pharma lobbying government and then saying, look, we've got this great. If you invest in our shares, it'll make you very rich. And you've got people in the FDA making a sleight of hand, investing, 20 grand, and then all of a sudden, they're millionaires, and you're thinking, fucking hell, how did that come about?
Yeah. And this is the way I see it. Like these problems are created on purpose because when you create a mass problem, maybe that's what COVID was, a mass problem that when you then offer the solution, all the equipment needed, the what they called the tests, the masks, all this cost billions. Like if they create a problem and then offer the solution, that's just free money method, right? Like just rinse and repeat that. Like, you
Shaking a
know?
tree there, isn't it? Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah. But World War III, are we there? Are we?
Well, I don't think so. I think that it's a continua we're on a continuation. I think it's I don't think we've ever stopped warring personally. I think World War Three is just a label I wouldn't tip my hat to. I would say, we're carrying on the destructive path that humans are, and it's tragic, personally. Yeah. Anyway, that's where I am on it. How about you, Henry?
Tim, you're muted, mate. Just so you know. Sorry.
Oh
Um.
yeah, I put myself on mute because the dog was barking and
It's not
mind
right.
you, it is her birthday today. Happy birthday, Star, your 13th
Happy birthday,
birthday.
Star.
Birthday.
Um.
Um, well, I'm going to take
So
her for a doggy cafe later. Go on, Henry.
nice. Sounds good. Yeah. I honestly don't know. I think the only way I could sum it up is what I said earlier. Really, that I think we're always being sold a story, whether we're in World War III or not. It's obviously heartbreaking to see all the things that are going on, but like you said, John, that's a constant. It seems.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, just honestly, I don't know what to say. It's
Have
yeah.
you have has your view changed at all from where you started and when we finished?
Um, I don't know because my view's a little bit indecisive on the main question, so I'd say I still feel
Are you still in?
unsure.
You're still in. You're not. So you started being unsure. You're finishing unsure. Are you sure about any? Are you firmer in any beliefs or than you were before, or not, or is it just as much stuff as it was when you started?
And does it matter?
Um, Possibly more mixed up. But all I know is I know nothing, mate. That's
Yeah.
that's where I'm at.
I I always feel like that. The more I know, the less I'm sure of. But I think the purpose of these conversations aren't really to change our minds, but also to just discuss and explore things. From my point of view, I think we are in Third World War. I don't know what number now. Now you've confused me about that, John. But I think we could say it's Third World War, and I think it started with all the stuff going on in the Donbass in Ukraine, and I think that conflict creating the war in Ukraine, and then the war in Venezuela, the war in the Middle East, Israel battering Palestine, and now Syria and Iran, and I definitely think there's major powers involved. It's a multi-continental scope for war as well. So we've got lots of alliances and activations of alliances going on, and the use of advanced weaponry, and a systemic breakdown. And I think that systemic breakdown is possibly part of the other war that is going on, for our spirits, for our minds, for our hearts. Whether it's done in the name of religion or not, but I think we're in a war. Thanks very much for listening, everybody. Take good care. See you on the next one.